Richard, tell me your fascination with Emmylou Harris.
Oh man,
what's going on there?
So
she's awesome.
You've turned into. You're missing your cowboy hat. You're turning into a bona fide country music lover.
Well, I obviously, as we talked about a week or so ago, went to see Albert Lee, and Albert Lee played with Emmylou Harris for a number of years in her touring band. So I just thought, I remember. So dial this back. There's a TV program in Britain in the I think late 60s, but probably 70s, called the Old Grey Whistle Test, which used to show off new music. And they always ran Emmylou Harris on there, like Whispering Bob, as the name of the DJ is. He's a big country guy.
Whispering Bob.
Whispering Bob.
Hey guys, I play this next track. I really enjoy this one. It's gonna be some great chicken picking on this one.
I mean, his full name is Whispering Bob Harris, but he's known for whispering. Like, that's why he got the name. Anyway, he's a big fan of the country, and he always had Emmylou Harris on it. And you know what? They sort of showed the one clip, and I always went, pleasant, but just never really registered. And then when I watched Albert Lee the other day, I dug a little bit deeper into some of his stuff, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go and listen to some Emmylou Harris, and I fell in love. If it's possible to fall in love with just a voice, this is what's happened to me.
So you're listening to Albert Lee and you're thinking, I'm just a country boy at heart.
Yep.
I'm not singing the rest, but yes. But
he's again, sitting there listening, and he's just looking off in the distance, and maybe a country boy can survive.
I mean, that's a ridiculous song to try and play as well. And he, even at 81, he pulls off a great version, but he can't do it as well as he used to. Of course not. But no, dudes. And here's the other thing: I've discovered other unknown artists via this route. Someone called Graham Parsons. I don't know whether you're familiar with that name. I've never heard of him until now. I mean, I had heard of him, but I'd never listened to any of his music ever, consciously. I'm not saying it didn't get played. And Emmylou Harris and Graham Parsons, they make beautiful music together.
So that's some good old classic stuff. What about? So I got to ask about the Merle Haggard. Have you been into Merle Haggard yet?
I've got the Merle Haggard going. We discussed this, I think, at the end of last year. I was listening to Merle and Waylon.
Waylon. He's went way long on that one.
You've got to say it in an English accent, surely. Dudes, I do need a cowboy hat and some boots.
Some kickers, some crap kickers, as we call them. But we don't say crap. We say other words that sound like crap that start with an
doo-doo.
Poopy head kickers.
I've been dealing with a lot of doo-doo. But honestly, again, going back to Emmylou, for me, and this is what I love about music, and I say it all the time. When there's someone that great that you've never got into, and you're able to go, hello, iTunes, give me everything they've ever recorded. And you can just sit there. I was blown away. I was literally this woman's voice is astounding.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty good guitar playing.
Yeah.
One
of our artists, Chris Lusinger, played a lot of stuff on her stuff too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm getting into some classic country right in time, actually, for a new BBC Two programme presented by Rob Brydon from, all kinds of comedies, but mainly Gavin and Stacey, which is the comedy vehicle that made James Corden so famous he could come to your country and ruin your TV for you.
Thanks. So you got Waylon, you got Merle. Now we move into the 90s. How about Alan Jackson? Are you in Alan Jackson, Brooks and Dunn area?
I'm not into the Brooks and I have got some Alan Jackson in there for sure. I'm definitely more in the 70s period. Like I say, Waylon, Merle, and Willie are my three best friends.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that got me with, like I say, with Waylon Jennings was his songs are kind of depressing. And I was like, you know what? I like depressing music too, but just delivered brilliant. His Christmas album was ridiculous.
You need, if you want depressing and you want to go in the folk kind of country vein, then you got to cue up Townes Van Zandt and get yourself a bottle of whiskey and just prepare to cry.
Well, the deep dive at the beginning of the year was definitely Johnny Cash, because let's face it, he is the king of whiskey-based country music, I think. So,
yeah. I don't know. Merle's got, I think I'll just stay here and drink, which is like hard to beat for a drinking song.
Man, he's got a lot of great classics, yeah.
But again, like I'm a big fan of a female voice. Like Aretha Franklin is probably one of my favorite artists of all time. I'm a huge fan of Alison Krauss. I love her voice, just the sweetness of her voice. And what you're getting with Emmylou Harris is the kind of sweetness of the Alison Krauss range and the power of the Aretha Franklin range. And you're also getting about 400 albums. So you're getting value for money too, right? She's prolific. So, yep, the country transformation is occurring, boys.
Have you heard Highway 40 Blues? I think it's Ricky Skaggs, if I remember right.
I don't think I have.
You've heard of that, haven't you, Blake?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever tried to play that on guitar?
Not gonna.
Yeah, the band's like, let's play Highway 40 Blues. I'm like, hold on. Wait a minute, folks. I don't think you understand. This is not something I just play. I have to rehearse for weeks for this. This is not just let me just pull this out of my hat here real quick.
Come on, Brian. Just pull that one out. Just go ahead. And next, we're covering some Yngwie.
Exactly.
I can play Highway to Hell. Does that count?
It's a little different than Highway 40 Blues. Highway 40 Blues is very Ricky. I mean, it's Ricky Skaggs, so it's going to be very, very country.
And again, I am not familiar with Ricky Skaggs. He does appear to have a mullet on this album cover. I'm adding.
We all did in 1990, man. All of us did.
I've added,
and now we all do in 2025.
And now we all do again, right? Except for me. I'm thinking of growing the skull up.
I think you should grow it out.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is a pleasant segue into one of the least pleasant facts of the week, which I was talking to Blake about before we came on air. I was in the bedroom playing with the puppy. That sounds awful, doesn't it? But it's what we do.
They're like punching the clown?
No, it's not.
It's not like
although sometimes I do feel like punching the puppy, but I won't. There isn't now a part of my hand that hasn't got a small cut on it. He's done a number.
Well, I mean, puppies have very sharp teeth, right? So.
Yep.
He's messing with your guitar playing.
You know, I haven't been able to play anywhere near as much.
This dog's got to go.
It's got to go.
It's messing with the guitar playing.
Call up the British dog forces or whatever it is over there. And
how can you be the British king of fuzz without a good guitar playing hand?
Believe it or not, it is actually the Royal Society for the Protection of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. So there is a royal part to it. But no, I digress. I was upstairs playing with the puppy. I bent over and Anna said to me, "You know how you've always asked me to be honest with you?" I'm like, yes. It's not as bad as this sounds. She said, "That little bald spot you asked me about, that is a bald spot. It's not just very thin hair.
It's not
you
thin
are
anymore.
losing hair." And I'm like, what? No. Oh, I'm shaving it all off again. So
I remember that. With me, it was like I was editing video. And I'm like, no. Oh my God. I have no hair on top of my head.
When did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, Scott has an incredible head of hair. Scott, my business partner, for those that don't know.
He's got beautiful hair.
He's got
I'm
great
jealous
hair.
of Scott's hair.
More and more.
And he one time we were on a video call. Most of our calls are just on the phone. I'm outside walking around for hours talking to him. But we've been doing video calls with the marketing team. So he's like, "You know, Blake, for years I thought you wore a hat because you were going bald. You're like the only guy I know that is at the time, like in his 30s, that has a full head of hair that willingly cuts it all off and puts a hat on." I'm like, I don't want to deal with it.
There's a lot. I spent a lot of my 30s just shaving it off because I also didn't want to deal with it. Then there was a renaissance, late 30s, where I was like, I probably don't have many times where I'm going to be able to wear this long again. So I wore it a bit longer, but I'm back to just shaving it off again.
I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's my time. Maybe it's my time to mullet.
I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
You'll have to mull it over.
oh,
Yeah, I like that one. That's a good dad joke.
that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't noticed these grey streaks so prominently in your
Yeah.
beard until today, and I think it must be the lighting. But yeah,
Or either that or when your kids became a teenager. One or the other.
No, I've had the gray in my beard for like 3 or 4 years.
Now, Brian, I'm going to say you know better than that, because that is not the level of grey you would adopt immediately if your child became a teenager.
That's
a rookie level of grey.
you either
right
lose
there.
it or you turn gray, or both. I guess.
Yeah, in my case.
I couldn't even hardly grow facial hair at all until my first son was born. So like 27. Like
you,
it was like
you hit puberty late, is what you're saying.
I think so. I didn't fully
Dude,
become a
I
man
was having
until
to
then.
shave at like 13. Like I had a full football team above my lip at 13, and they needed to be trimmed.
I have a blonde mustache. That's why I do this weird beard that I do. I just take what I can get.
Wow.
Beard.
When I was
Mhm.
13, I was barely, I was the size of like a second grader. I was like 75 pounds. If that tells you anything.
Wow.
You were 70, like actually 75 pounds?
I wrestled 75 when I was in 8th grade. Yeah.
Whoa. Wow.
That was a little bit of
That's insane. I
Little bitty
curl
guy.
more than that regularly.
Yeah, I mean, I was basically a
a
sack of concrete. That's the size I was,
yes, concrete.
And you
that's,
hit like one,
that's
too.
the word we were all thinking of when you said sack.
I was
man, no, I'm loving my country, my country phase. But you know what else I'm loving?
What?
I'm loving the fact that the Lizard King himself is still alive and living in Syracuse.
The Lizard King?
Lizard King.
Yes,
JHS pedal? Oh no, that was a queen.
Mr. Mojo Rising himself.
Go on. Mojo Rising.
Well, okay, I'll give you a clue. Mr. Mojo Rising is an anagram of a particularly famous person who is alive. Bro, you've literally got notes in front of you that say the name of the person.
I'm looking for it.
Okay. Blake, I think, has frozen. Either that or he's thinking real hard about my clue. Oh, he's back again.
Huh?
I'm dumbfounded. I regularly am on this show, but
I don't see anything about Mojo Rising.
All right, I'll say it again. The Lizard King, the lead singer of The Doors, Mr. Jim Morrison,
Oh, you mean-
aka
Oh.
You mean the dead one?
yeah. Well, apparently not.
So we're
According
supposed to know what you mean by like, well, there's a zombie person walking around in Syracuse, I'm like, yeah, that's people who live in Syracuse.
Brian's
that
still
seems like a
trying to-
90s, like a 90s Seinfeld joke or something. I don't know anything about Syracuse. Hardly.
So there's
I
a
love
new
Syracuse.
documentary coming out where someone is
I like the
claiming,
football team.
with a lot of like gravitas, that Jim Morrison faked his own death and is alive. First of all,
There's a ride you don't want to go on in the county fair, the Gravitas. It's terrible.
No, I like that one.
Absolutely.
You get in there and you slide around on these like plastic ramp
You
things.
bounce around. 'cause
Yeah.
it's-
I had some I had some lamb madras over the weekend. I think I had gravitas. At least I think that's a scientific way of describing it. No, according to this new documentary, Jim Morrison, the erstwhile singer of the greatest band to come out of a certain part of California in
Lynch Mob.
1967, or maybe 66.
Rat.
I think
Black
they're
Flag.
all- Yes,
Skid Row.
Skid Row for sure.
Uh-huh.
The Doors, your favorite band. Greg?
Oh, yeah, I love the Doors. They're great. I love is their use of the ADMP ones and 412 Marshall. JC May hundreds.
Yes.
I thought they did. They used. Are you sure?
Pretty sure. It might be the JCM 900s because there's a lot of gain.
I don't think anything like that was required to make the drunken circus clown music that band was known for. But
I
think
have no idea who that is then.
Mhm.
I think they were using the diesel VH1s, weren't they? I don't know.
I heard they're
Eagle
going through
Powerballs.
they're going through their modeling phase. It's all neural DSP stuff
It's
now.
line 6 now.
Mhm.
Actually, during lockdown, Robbie Krieger, one of the most famous SG wielding guitar players ever,
And also a great actor in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
Okay, Brian, can I just tell you, you are out of your depth if you're going to take me and Blake on in horror film based comedy. All right?
I'm just saying, as long as we're talking about people I've never known. So.
I mean,
Robbie
you must have
Krieger.
listened to some
Robbie
of the
Krieger's
Doors.
going to come in your dreams and play sick riffs.
He's going to be sat there doing the flamenco part to Spanish Caravan while you try and sleep. You must have watched some Doors music, heard some Doors music at some
Oh,
point.
yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I would hear people play it, and I'd be like, what is that noise? Please stop and turn on some docking. Turn on something with distortion. That's accurate.
Eddie Vedder?
There you go.
Eddie Vedder? What? Actually, I think there is a Doors connection there. Look, I digress. Riders on the Storm
Dark Riders on the Storm.
is one of the
That just-
songs
that's doesn't do anything, man.
it's recommended for testing out high-end audio systems because the sound of that recorded thunder at the beginning is really good for calibrating
Why not
speakers.
Garth Brooks, The Thunder Rolls?
Yeah.
Better song,
I agree.
better thunder.
Better thunder, especially if you get the long version where she gets even. You know
She
what I'm
gets
saying?
even.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he's alive and well and living in Syracuse. Where is Syracuse?
It's in New York, I believe.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know.
I think it's
They
in
have a
upstate New
fantastic
York.
football team, though.
Go the Syracusians.
I don't know. I don't watch the ball, but
I don't know that Syracuse does have a team.
yeah, they do.
Do they? Like a big
The Syracuseicasters.
No. Things to do in Syracuse. You can go to the Everson Museum of Art, the Rosamond Gifford Zoo,
The banger.
Destiny USA, or the Erie Canal Museum.
Hell yeah, bub.
Mm-hmm. What is
That's where I
Syracuse
like to
known
drink
for?
my Mick Ultra. Go
Yeah.
there and drink a little Mick Ultra. You know. Not-
Syracuse is known as the economic and educational hub of central New York, home to Syracuse University and other prominent institutions, and for its rich history, including its connection to the Erie Canal, and is currently best known as the last known whereabouts of James Morrison.
Well,
So what you're
that
saying? He's
proves it.
still there.
He's still there writing poetry. I wonder, have you ever written any poetry, Bri? I wonder how
purpose?
Brian's poetry would go. O resistor, thou art fine.
Thou shalt not capacitate.
Uh,
Oh, breadboard, why do you fault me so? I must troubleshoot this design before the next show.
YouTube commenter, desist your words. I am not ready for this war.
Hear
Anyhow.
ye, hear ye, legions of fuzz, bow down before me. I can't think of something that's not disgusting to rhyme with that next, so we're gonna skip that. I'm gonna skip that right away.
Moving
Yeah.
swiftly along. No, seriously though, is like other than Elvis, is the Jim Morrison is still alive conspiracy theory the biggest? Probably not the Paul McCartney
The
replacement.
Paul
theory.
McCartney being dead, I think, is the biggest conspiracy, probably, or the most widely known one.
Yeah. Okay.
You know this one, Brian, right?
I have no idea what the hell you guys are talking about.
Paul
Are you
McCartney supposedly.
Well,
according-
let's dial this back a bit.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with the concept of rock and roll music and a band called the Beatles?
Well, yeah. So I'm familiar with them, but I'm just not into that side of it. I would much rather talk about like songwriting composition on something they did.
But you know about them, and you know that Paul McCartney is is, you know, a big
One of the
famous
greatest
person.
songwriters of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I know Paul McCartney is, but I have no idea about some sort of replacement theory or some other.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, we had to establish this foundation first.
Okay.
Yeah, we just had to make sure that you wouldn't be like, who?
Yeah, I mean,
Whoa, what?
very well familiar with the Beatles, but not any sort of conspiracy.
So what year was this? This was actually pretty
this was-
early on. 1970 or something?
I'm thinking 1971 and around the time of Abbey Road, but I'm really bad with dates, so I will
Great
quickly
studio, by the way.
put it into a Paul McCartney into a Googlebot machine. Paul McCartney replaced.
What you mean is a Google
Oh, yeah,
Gemini machine? I think.
So 1966.
Oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah, was the Paul is dead theory came around.
He was actually in a car crash, though. That part is true, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Whoa, okay. The rumor, Brian, is that he in 1966 was in a terrible car crash, and then he actually died. And the Paul McCartney that we've seen since then was a replacement.
Called Billy Shears.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you think that's true?
I think
No.
Brian short circuit.
No, it's Occam's razor, man. No, I think it's all bullshit.
That's what most people think too.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun dive into, like, especially because it is so old. You know, now we can see conspiracies about everything. Like, I heard that Wampa platters were made on Mars. You know, like that's like the world we live in now.
Maybe
but
they are.
oh wait, are they?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh wow, your silence is deafening.
Mars, California.
That is a place. But it's just interesting because it was such an old theory in pop culture. Like, oh, Paul's been dead this whole
I never
time.
was into that stuff, man. I mean, you growing up, like I was the kid that was reading Circus magazine and looking at Motley Crue stuff.
What was Circus magazine? Were you training to be a clown?
No, that was the big rock and roll, heavy metal magazines over here.
Okay. You wouldn't have
Circus
guessed it from the name. Over here,
Yeah, I don't know why.
our two big like rock magazines were Metal Hammer and Kerrang. Over there, Circus magazine.
I don't
Sounds
know
like
what-
something.
I mean, I
your
have
dad
no
might
idea.
be.
I've never really asked anybody why they called it that, but that was a big one.
Should be your mission.
Mhm.
Hey, I didn't write this in the notes, but did you guys catch the JHS EHX news?
I did not.
So Josh
No.
is working on some sort of documentary book series about EHX with Mike
Good. He's the
Matthews.
perfect one to do it, man.
Absolutely
awesome.
he
He's the
is,
perfect
yeah.
one to do it. Yeah, good on him.
I think that's true. It could have been a dream of mine. They've been a bit weird recently, so if there's no substance behind this and Googling it results in nothing, I
Wait,
dreamt it.
JHS has been weird, or your dreams have been
My
weird?
dreams have been weird.
Okay.
JHS
Both,
is always-
actually.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, both.
That's why we love JHS, because they're weird.
But yeah, so back to Jim Morrison. I mean, it is one of the big conspiracies, but it's got to be
Both,
rubbish, right?
actually. Yeah.
Like,
Ah,
who had the time to make that stuff happen? And as Brian says, it's Occam's razor.
It's fun, but I think he's toast.
I mean, the bigger question is, what pedals would John Lennon use today? You know, what would he be a tube screamer guy, or would he be a clone guy? That's
I
the
think
big-
if John Lennon was making music today, he'd be making it in like a tinfoil shack in his back, 400,000 acres, and like it'd probably be just running different rustling leaves through a cassette machine backwards or something.
I mean, Brian,
So he'd be a Chase Bliss fan.
Have
he would
you-
want that?
As I was saying it, I was like, maybe I want to make that.
Yeah, I
album.
mean,
No.
not to knock it down, but I mean that certainly is something that's outside of the realm of overdrive and distortion. So he probably would have been a big like Strymon and Chase Bliss fan, right?
question, Brian. Have you ever seen the clip of Chuck Berry and John Lennon playing music
I
together?
have.
When
Yes.
Yoko Ono starts to sing.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that his music followed the arc of that and like has just become screamcore or something like that.
Maybe, but there might have been a point where John was like, you know what, this isn't working. this is we're gonna have to do something that makes us some money. Like we got a tour, and Yoko, that ain't gonna fly.
Actually, let's just get back in bed for 4 weeks or whatever we did at one time.
Well, and that's 4 weeks. What do you do after that?
make it
You
to the
got to go on
couch.
tour to support your music, man, at some point. And I don't want to hear Yoko sing those songs. You know.
No, I think we can all agree with that. What else has been?
How did we get onto that? I'm not sure how that even happened.
Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison is to blame for everything.
It's
Mojo
his fault
Rider,
yet again.
the
It's
lizard
Jim
king.
Morrison trying to ruin my life from the grave.
Bride, did you see that Jack White is releasing through his third man pedal record company, whatever, his own DIY kits?
Really?
Yes,
What?
the Fuzzatron pedal kit.
Sorry, this store is currently unavailable. Are you sure?
Well,
I can see it.
yeah.
Well, that looks cool.
I can't
Wedge
see it.
enclosures. Didn't see that coming.
No, they're wedge enclosures. They look cool. $75.
wow. I can see it now, but yeah, there was an error. I could not see it there for a second. So I do see it now. Interesting. So this is Jack White's DIY pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also heard a
Never
rumor
mind.
on the grapevine that he was starting a new online course business. I think he's
might.
calling it Jack White's Guitar Pedals Course.com. See the S? The S.
JacksPedalsCourse.com.
JacksPedalsCourse.com. Yeah.
I mean, you got to love the fact that he's putting out a DIY kit because that's going to reach kids that are into Jack White and guitar and not necessarily boutique pedals and guitar.
So it's the same theory with me. It's like it would whenever I hear, another pedal company or something, I think, oh great, the market's expanding, awesome. Where, like this, I don't see this as competition because no one just buys one pedal or one pedal kit,
Mhm.
So good for Jack. Please help make more customers.
I
Thank
might
you.
create an online persona where I'd claim on every one of your videos that I only own one pedal and I'm never going to own any more pedals. Why do you keep making them?
No one would see
wind
the
you
light
up.
of day because I'd be like, block. hide comment."
I'd comment. Yeah, Jack White is directly responsible for helping kickstart my pedal addiction. It was like his use of fuzz and the whammy.
I can
and
see that.
Like it was. He's like the guy for my generation for straight up rock and roll. So he's why
As
I've
long
got a
as Pete
silver
Townsend.
tone. There's a lot of inspiration that he generates in the world. So I think it's cool too.
I think it's
I've seen
very
the circuit before, but I forget what circuit it is.
cool. Do you need someone with greater and more regal fuzz credentials than you to examine the circuit?
Sure.
I think that can be arranged. Hold on.
We got two
in-depth-
BJTs. If you go to page 14, you got two BJTs there. You got 3566s, and they look like.
Oh, Brian, it's a fuzz
they're
face.
running.
It's
okay.
a fuzz face.
No, it's not a fuzz face.
I say it is a fuzz face.
It is not a
Therefore,
fuzz face.
it is a fuzz face.
It's not a DC feedback pair, man.
No, it's interesting because, as you say, the two transistors are not wired in the normal way you would wire them.
Well, you got to look at how the connections are. So you have.
They're Widdershins.
Let's see. So you have. Let's see. That C2 goes into the bass, and the collector C4 meets where the tone control is. So you have two different circuit. Okay, so it's out of phase, and you have two different. Okay, I see. I see what you got going.
So you've got two out of phase transistors.
Well, only one of them's out of phase.
What creating two transistors creating an out of phase effect.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, I can see it. There it is.
I mean,
Okay.
you have two different signals that are kind of coming at you, which is going to make like a
So they are
a crazy
summing.
fuzz sound.
Yeah, they're summing that sound essentially, are they?
Sort of. I mean, that's what the tone control pot's kind of doing, is blending two different output capacitors.
Right. It's and those outputs are coming from those two transistors, and those transistors are wired Widdershins back to front.
Huh?
It's
What?
old English, Bri.
What is
Excuse me?
It's old English. You don't
What
want
the shins is going on here?
You don't want to get involved,
What do
otherwise we'll-
shins have to do with this?
Oh, the Shins are another great band from that
Like
generation.
shin splints?
could be the Shin Eye Fuzz.
Is it?
No, I just made that up to sound like I knew
Shin
what I was talking
Fuzz,
about.
yeah.
I don't know anything. Wow. I don't know what you'd use that adjustable wrench for in the tools section. Is that for like beating somebody with? That looks really big for the.
Wouldn't it be just do the output jacks?
I mean, I'd use some.
Oh, wait a minute. That
Pocket
is a
rocket,
Shanae
sure.
fuzz. Okay.
Is that-
okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, sort of. I mean, you have a very similar thing going on. Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly part for
I
part, but it's
believe
very
the sound of trumpets should be playing about now, Bri. I believe that is the case. That was a complete guess.
similar.
But look,
there we go.
Another victory for the British King of Fuzz. He did not at all pull that out of nowhere.
There was a rectum, and it came direct from the rectum of
Speaking
one
of which,
King of
right?
Fuzz.
Who came up with all of these different dog chew treats that you can buy? I don't want to buy something that looks like it is like a part of the reproductive organs of a cow. I want nice chews for my dog. Well, that's just my rant. You've had small dogs, bro. What did you give your small dog to chew on?
I went to styleupmypet.com and got a fantastic set of shoes. That's what I did.
I've closed the website.
Oh.
I've closed the website, and now my puppy is consuming all the stock. See how that works. Yeah, no.
So anyway, so just Jack White fuzz. So
Yes.
I mean, is this the first one? Does he have more?
No, as far as I know, it's the first one.
I would like to ask Jack, with his incredible reach, to please help get more people interested in electronics.
Yes.
Thank you, and good night.
Well, that's the show over, listeners.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Bye. No, I'm 100% there. Like I say, I've never really been like the White Stripes came out a bit beyond my 30s, which is the peak period of any music for me. So I appreciate them. I'm not like Blake and like super into them, but I get why people are into them. I totally get it.
I like a lot of Jack White's other projects too. And
Hey,
just
he just had
him.
a beef with Corey Wong, our artist Corey Wong, I think, online anyways.
He had a beef with him?
Yeah.
I think beef is strong. Maybe it's more
Beef
of a,
is strong.
yeah. Maybe it was I don't know.
Especially if it's grass fed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe it was more a beef burger than, you know, a
Okay,
steak.
so it was a lightly grilled hamburger. Something about, I don't know, playing notes or guitar stuff.
How dare you play notes?
No,
We're
Corey
fighting
said,
now.
I think Corey said something like, everybody should know
Where to
the
find the
different
C's
notes
on the
of-
fretboard.
yeah,
Yeah,
something
you should
like
be able
that.
to point to all the C's on a fretboard.
And Jack was like, no, you don't. You don't need to know anything. You don't need to know jack stuff at all. You know?
It's the eternal debate, and I think there's merits on both sides. I think knowing where every single note is and what everything you do is brilliant. I can't claim that I know everything that I do. I also think the person who picks up a guitar and says, if I press this here and then do this, that sounds amazing, and I'm going to work on that, is equally as valid, because music is an audible product. Like we can all judge it with our ears, is what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah, I think
Because-
whatever works for you, that's cool.
Do you know every note on the fretboard, Blake?
I don't know a single note on the fretboard.
You do too. So if someone says play a D, you know what, like, you know where to find the D. You know what I'm saying?
One of them.
You know what I'm saying, don't you?
I can find the G.
That'll work too. Okay.
And I
You're
definitely
you're
know the
both
open
gonna
E.
be finding the F before you know it. I'm gonna let you know.
No, I know like cowboy chord position where most things are, but like beyond that, like I really and then 12th fret obviously because that's just
But
an
honest
extension.
question, like for what you do you actually need to know more than that? Probably not.
I don't
right?
I don't
Like,
really
you're
need
not-
to know any of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not very helpful to you.
I'm not sitting down and learning other people's songs or trying to play in a band. When I was playing with a band more, I actually had a little bit better idea of some of that stuff because you had to, because you're communicating with others. I'm playing by myself in a shed. I do not need to know much at all. I just keep doing it until it sounds the way I want it to do.
So to me, this
sound.
is very analogous to like people in electronics that say, well, you have to know the math behind how this gain stage works. And others saying, no, I don't. I just want to turn this knob and it make, distortion noises. I just want to mess with it. To me, it's very similar to that, to how guitar players sort of approach whether I should be very theoretically knowledgeable or whether I should just play the damn thing and shut up. You know?
Well, I think it depends on what you want to do. If you really want to, sit in an orchestra pit, then you got to know your theory. You have
know
to.
your theory.
There's no other option. If you want to be in a punk rock band jumping all over the stage and having a good time,
not so much.
You just kind of got to remember your parts.
Right.
Again, I refer the honourable gentleman to Jilted John and Gordon is a Moron, played by tuning the guitar in such a fashion that it could just be fretted with one finger and the rest of his hand was taped up as if to prove a point on television. Great song, by the way.
Never heard of it.
Oh,
You've heard of it.
away with you.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you have. You've heard of it because he's brought it up on
we've
the show.
talked about it like 5 times.
Yeah.
So,
The last time did I say, never heard of it?
Yes.
Okay. No, still never heard of it then. I
enough.
heard you that time and promptly forgot everything you said.
But you've
Sounds
heard of
like
it.
the story
You
of my
didn't
life.
retain it. These are
I
different
didn't
things.
Very true. Thank you for the correction. Thank you.
So, guys, look, there are a couple of really other, like the Corey Wong thing I saw, but we don't really have a.
I think we distilled it down to its parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what happened,
Basically-
right?
Basically, you have the engineering nerds, and then you have the people that like to tinker.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's
that's
room for
fine.
both. There's room for both.
There
Yeah.
is no rule.
And all shades in between.
Of course.
But we cannot not discuss Spinal Tap Part 2
There's room for
coming
both.
out this
Yeah.
year.
Of course.
Yeah. The only news is it's coming out, and they've put a teaser trailer out. I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. Spinal Tap holds a very specific part of my childhood, like memories. That when I discovered that film, probably, I don't know, 15, 16, like it was quoted everywhere. I learnt the songs. My band did a cover of Big Bottom.
It's a great song.
It is a great song. Great little riff. I can still
It's a
remember
love
the word.
song, really.
Yeah. So I'm really nervous about it. What's your take? Will you go to the cinema and see it firstly?
I probably will. I trust the people making the movie. We've got all the OGs pretty much. I think we're missing a few.
So Rob Ryder directing,
Yep.
Harry Shearer, Christopher Guest, and the other dude.
I feel terrible, but yes.
It isn't Phil Terrible. He was a drummer.
Yeah. No thanks. I'll wait for it to come on to like Amazon or something.
Will you now?
I'm not going to go to a cinema.
Okay.
No.
I love going to the movies. It's such a good time.
I'm literally 50-50 between the two of you. I'm like, I really want to go and see it, but at the same time, I'm lazy. So we'll see which wins, and probably laziness.
You know what they frown at? See, the thing is, they frown about my favorite thing to do while watching movies, and that's
Which
take
is?
my pants off.
Oh,
Well,
They don't like that.
you're just in the wrong theater.
I guess. Oh, that's that showdown. Okay.
Yeah, that's the other theater. Yeah, you're gonna want to go to Portland, Oregon.
That's a joke, though, for those listening. I'm just teasing. I don't take my pants off while watching movies usually.
They did correct around here, at least for most of the theaters in my area now. They did correct the thing that I like to do while watching a movie that you didn't used to be able to do. Drink a beer.
That's true. You can now get inebriated while watching your favorite movie.
There's no better time.
I mean, the only thing better is if they legalize marijuana.
Well,
I mean, that would be really good in a movie theater.
Right?
I mean, that would be really, really.
That'd be
They'd
great.
sell more popcorn.
They'd sell a lot more food.
It is possible, whilst high, to eat so much popcorn that you kill yourself. I know because I've come close.
Don't you guys think that they don't really need to necessarily legalize smoking in the theater? You could just I don't know, if you were feeling a little rebellious, maybe not. I don't know anybody that would do this, but you have a little gummy bear at a well-timed moment.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, I guess. I mean, I have been in movie theaters before where people were vaping. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh.
Either that or there's just naturally smoke in there. I don't know. Could be both.
It's for effect.
4D effects.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You better be careful, or some 15-year-old's going to come steal your vape. Snatch it right out of your hands. Give me that, good sir. You hooligans in here vaping in my theater. Snatch it right out of your hands. Give me that.
You're on my turf now, mister.
That's right. I manage this year's movie theater.
Anyways.
Wow,
so-
we are good at this. We are really good at this.
Michael McKean.
How many episodes have we done now? Like 6,000 episodes?
This is
When did
episode
we start getting good?
557. What? Are we supposed to get good?
I mean, I would think at some
All
point-
right, I'm done. See you later. That's never happening on my watch.
You know how many times this has happened to me? Like, hey, I've been listening to your podcast for a while. How long have you been doing Chasing Tone? I'm like, almost 10 years.
40, 45, 40.
Yeah, man, it's been almost... Wow. Jeez, that it has.
Well,
It has been a
2015
minute.
is when I
Oh.
started like posting content on the internet about guitars.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think
wasn't too long after that I started Tone Mob.
16 or maybe early 17, but it wasn't much further than that if it was 17.
I think it was 16
Yeah.
because you came on a fairly early Tone Mob episode, and then that's where we hit it off and started jabbering off the internet.
Right.
And it was, I want to say, maybe 3-4 months after that.
Sounds right, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause you were still in the shop.
Yes.
You were still turning wrenches.
Yep. Well, yeah, I was at the fuel terminal, so I was doing a lot of recording in the fuel lab, looking at diesel get X-rayed.
And I was still drinking back then. I was like, let's do a podcast. That's a good idea.
Were you drinking the diesel he produced?
I was
Now I understand how this started.
Nope, just imbibing on the malted beverages.
Mm-hmm.
Lots.
In the
I sit on the
episodes.
back porch and drink beer and podcast. Because, I mean, I was like, nobody's listening to this anyways.
Meanwhile, there were like thousands of people listening.
And I'm like, wait, what are the stats? People have been hearing me talk? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I remember one you were like, I'm getting ready to make burgers, like scraping the grill.
There was some pretty shitty episodes.
Yeah, there's some bad ones. We're like, well, I'm out of things to talk about.
We should probably scrub those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, keep them forever. Oh, you know what we haven't mentioned? The fact that we are amongst the most disturbing podcasts on
Oh,
the
yes.
Oh, that's right.
internet. If you're looking for disturbing or disturbing podcasts, you will find us right up there with true crime.
Yeah, we were like number 2 or something on disturbing podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's all because
Because of our title, right?
one title of one episode. That means that disturbing podcasts don't get a lot of listeners, and the algorithm's gone, well, this one gets a lot of listeners, and they say the word disturbing in the title.
Is
Right.
it-
That's got to be a good one, surely.
I mean, I know our show gets a bit fruity at times, but I'd have never have called it disturbing. Although, actually, come to think of it, maybe.
there have been things that one could call disturbing, though.
Yeah, there's been some references to some fairly disturbing things on this. But I don't know if I would call it disturbing.
Disturbing?
Maybe disturbing.
Fine. Then we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have got a confession to make, though.
Oh, hold on. That's not how you start that sentence.
It is. It is.
I got another confession to make. There, that's how you do it.
There you go.
Okay. I have a confession to make. I have broken my Martinsville footwear virginity, and I have bought my first ever set of Crocs.
Oh,
yes! I need a
no.
sound effect. I need a sound effect for that.
The sound of a crocodile snapping.
It would be like, congratulations, you will now also have weird smelling feet for some reason, because that's what Crocs do.
Well, I
It'd
mean,
be like,
assuming my feet don't already smell weird, but
They'll definitely smell different in Crocs, whatever
I-
they smell like now.
I have to take the dog out to the garden to do his business from time to time, and I just wanted a pair of outdoor slippers that I could just put on and not care about, and Crocs were the perfect solution.
Did you keep them in sport mode or?
So I didn't realize this about Crocs. So you have a band that flips back and makes the heel.
For sport mode. That's right.
Which one's sport mode? When it's forward or reversed?
I think it's when it's in back of your heel.
Yeah.
That's sport mode because you could
sport
run
mode.
with them.
Right.
Wow. See, this is new knowledge to me. I was actually quite excited when I got them to discover this. I was like, oh, that's why they're called Crocs, because it's like a crocodile that snaps its teeth, maybe.
I don't know why they call them Crocs. Joe Croc. He made those. Joe
Possibly.
I can't do the Crocs. Can't do it.
I got some trendy looking
Croc. Not
ones.
a fan.
No.
Oh, they look good. I'm
My
No, they don't.
Yeah, they don't. Not with my feet. Mm.
They don't look good on any feet. Let's stop pretending like they're cool. They are built for comfort, and that is it. That is the only thing they're made for.
Well, they're very comfortable for taking the dog outside in the garden, standing there, giving him the command to do his business, and then waiting for 10 minutes while he does nothing other than pick up everything that you didn't think existed in the garden. Yesterday, there was a bee, a giant bee, the size of a hornet, on its back, and I caught him just before he decided to try and lick the stinger of the bee. I was seconds away from puppy disaster. So, yes, I have broken my Martinsville footwear virginity. I now own Crocs spray. I'm listening to Emmylou Harris. I'm eating Jack Links for breakfast.
You know what's next? Now you got to start listening to Luke Bryan since you got Crocs.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and you're gonna have to
Bryan
go
is
to
a good thing.
the liquor store on your lawnmower.
And I got to say, you know what was kind of popular on the social media, Bri, was you posted a picture of Maybell, which is one of Jimmy Olander's famous Telecasters, with a Wampler gearbox. And a lot of people, I didn't realize, like, again, I'm not in your area.
Yeah, it's totally different,
yeah, Nashville is not something, and people love that dude. And I'm
People
like,
love Jimmy. Jimmy's a
Now-
great dude, man.
I love Jimmy, but for different reasons. And my reasons are he delivered one of the funniest pieces to your roast. It was colourful and very amusing. But I've never really listened to him. But now
He's
I am.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, even as a player, I struggle to play his stuff. He's just so damn good. So, I mean, there was one point where he was trying to explain like music theory to me, like songwriting, as far as songwriting goes. I had to stop and say, Jimmy, you're talking so far over my head. I don't understand what the hell you're even talking about, man. he's so freaking bright about that sort of stuff. It's just amazing.
I love talking to people like that because it does make me feel really thick. Like when they're like, and you take the fourth chord, and then of course you put the dominant seventh in with the harmonic ninth.
He's like, and of course it's the same thing as a flat minor 4-3-2-4.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that, and I mean, come on, if you just, you know,
I mean, you're just carrying the 6.
carry the 6 over to the quarter note. What are you doing? Ugh.
And I'm like, is that a G? G major?
What power chord number is that?
Where do I put my fingers for that?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, you don't want me to put my fingers on the guitar. I understand. Okay.
but Jimmy's a good dude, man.
He appears to be. We've almost come full circle though, because again, I'll say this: it's much easier to remember where to put your fingers if you can give it a name. So it's much easier to remember a dominant ninth chord than it is to be put finger here, 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 and here.
No, that's why you do the Phoebe technique. You know, it's the bear claw,
The bear
eagle talon, and that's how you name the chords. Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
Mhm.
It's the bear claw.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the bear claw.
I do that a bit. Like the chord that I've just learned for a song is currently known as the Steve Vai chord. It's a big stretch, but it's one he uses, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to call this the Steve Vai chord for now. It's much easier.
Mm-hmm. The James Bond chord.
Well,
we all know that one.
I mean, that's a great chord.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon have bought James Bond. Do you think we'll get an American James Bond?
I hope not.
Who would it be? It should be Brian Wampler, I think.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Hold on, are they not one and the same person? Like Brian Wampler, the Adam Sandler of...
stirred, man.
I have to say, the way Adam Sandler looks at life, I probably subscribe to that point of view as well.
There you go. So
He seems like a good
They don't
dude.
like it? Hell with them.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing.
I'll cry into my pile of money. What else has been going? Real quick one. I saw a thing that Norm from Norm's Rare Guitars said, you know who would be the perfect person to take over once he finishes there? Joe Bonamassa. And I thought to myself, yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who would be a really good shop assistant? Richard Oliver. Just putting that out there right now. And what about the Van Halen thing? Did you guys see that too? They're
Van
talking
Halen?
about
Van Halen thing? I
they're
can't
talking about a new Van Halen track. Alex Van Halen has recruited Steve Lukather to do some bits, but I also read they were going to use AI to stitch together some kind of Eddie Van Halen-esque solo.
No thanks.
Yeah?
Yeah, no thanks.
Okay. And Brian is currently sending a letter to his solicitors.
No, I was trying to think. I mean, I love Lukather.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
he's incredible, of course.
Yeah.
An amazing player.
But I did not know that they were going to use any form of AI to stitch up, to basically simulate Eddie Van Halen legs.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's
I'm looking
new,
at
and
the
I don't
article
like
now.
it, and
I
I'm
know
scared
that.
of it. Yeah, I think that is really where it's going to go. And again, like, is Van Halen still relevant? Don't get me wrong, greatest guitar-based band of our generation, almost certainly. But do we really care to hear new Van Halen, or do we want to hear the new Van Halen? Mic drop. I'm out of the studio. Bye.
I mean, I just want to hear B-roll. I want to hear B-side
Jelly
stuff.
roll. You want to hear Jelly roll? Okay, I can arrange that.
No, I mean like B-side stuff that
I mean,
no one's
that's
ever
all-
heard. That's what I like from the old Van Halen.
And again, like from someone who lives through the David Bowie phenomena as it is at the moment, which is anything and everything gets released. It's like, if there was good stuff, it would have been released in his lifetime when he could have made more money out of it. Like, yes, all the deep cuts, fine, but you're never going to capture the essence of that music and its time.
I'm curious because as I remember telling you guys when the announcement happened, Shooter Jennings is putting together a bunch of unreleased Waylon stuff that he seems very excited about. So therefore, I am very excited about it. But I understand that mentality of like, if this was the cream of the crop, they probably would have released it already. That does make sense, but that doesn't mean that's not always the case, because sometimes there's surprise things where it's like, oh man, we thought this was going to be the hit, but it turns out this other song was the hit. So you don't always know if they're holding back their better stuff, because better is subjective.
Again, are there any real examples of that? I think one of them is possibly Easy Rider by Jimi Hendrix. Flew under the radar very much and was kind of like a deep cut, and then became like a very popular song, I guess. Was it even on an album? I forget. I think that was just a...
I don't know. It's a good
Okay,
question.
yeah, it was on one of his posthumous albums, right? So, yeah, has there ever been a song that was better than, or better is subjective. It's difficult to quantify. So, has there ever been a song released that's been like a deep cut that was as good, if not better, than one of the classics from an artist? There's your homework, listeners. Didn't know we were setting homework, but we are. And Professor Brian is in attendance.
I'm trying to think. No, that doesn't really count. The one I was going to mention was Sam Cooke's Change Is Gonna Come, but that was a planned release. He just happened to have died a couple days before it came out.
Yep.
So that doesn't really count, because they were planning on releasing that while he was alive, and he was tragically killed. There might be another podcast episode about that you could find with somebody on this podcast that maybe will exist on the internet soon. Anyway.
Oh, what, the Brian Wampler Soul Show? I can't
yeah,
wait to
that's
hear
one.
it.
Yeah.
Soul or solo?
Both, sure. The Brian Wampler Solo Soul Show. Try saying
Brian
that with your
Wampler
teeth.
solo soul show. That is hard to say.
You wait till they hold it at the shoals of the seashore. Then we're in real trouble.
In Muscle
Anyway,
Shoals by the seashore.
I think our time has come to an end, gentlemen.
I
this
agree.
week.
I agree.
It is time to read out the names of those fine, fine folk who sponsor us.
All right. Who wants to do it?
So
Did I do it last time?
That's the International Peanut Conglomeration and Yogurts of the World Limited. They're our main sponsors.
Yes.
Oh, and the Geico freeze-dried vegetable company.
Update on the freeze dryer.
Oh,
you
sure.
cannot freeze dry peanut butter.
You
Too much
can't?
Oil. Can't dry it. Can't
Too much
do it.
oil?
Too much oil.
What if you
But
got
you
that
did try.
powdered peanut butter that doesn't have much oil in it?
Well, you could do something like that.
Reconstitute it a little bit and then freeze dry it and see what
Well,
happens.
but then you might as well just start with the powdered peanut butter.
Have you considered eating peanuts? Just saying.
I like peanuts, but
I have some almost every day.
like pecans as well, and walnuts.
A what?
Walnut.
Did he
Walnut.
used to work for us?
Walnut.
Yeah.
Walnut.
Jason Walnut. Is that?
Yeah, he worked in customer service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like walnuts.
What's a
Little
walnut?
Pistachios. Like
Hold on.
pistachios.
No. Hold on. Dial this back. I've never heard of a walnut. What is a walnut?
No, not walnut.
Walnut.
A whale nut.
A
No,
walnut.
Not walnuts.
Oh.
Walnut.
Walnut.
Oh.
You would probably
a
say
walnut.
walnut.
A walnut. Yes.
Yeah, not walnut. Walnut.
It's a walnut.
No, it's on the West Coast, they're walnuts.
Yeah,
Thanks
here in
for the
southern
West.
Indiana. Walnut.
Walnut.
I genuinely thought I was
give me
discovering
bananas.
a new
Yes,
type of
walnuts,
nut.
Don't you kidding? There's nobody eating nuts in Martinsville. They don't keep nuts in the Diet Coke aisle.
They fall on the ground here, man.
Okay.
Pick them up. Seriously. There's walnuts everywhere.
Wall to wall. Right, I'll read out the executive producers. How about that?
Oh
Good
yeah,
idea.
we still have to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So, do we have any new ones? No, I don't think so.
Negatory.
All right. Bill Bays, David Tyndall, Dave Trombetti, Shannon Weaver, Eric Wilson, Vidar Frostad, Michael Freer, Sean Arbo of Gun Street Wiring, Rick Calhoun of Honey Picks, Patrice Fournay's Dylan Talks Tone, the Missouri Electrical Box Company, Kevin Harrington, I can see you typing, Bri. I can see a little purple thing going across my screen. I haven't got there yet. Barry from Grez Guitars, Tom Kelly, Jake Young of the Man in the Helm podcast, Pigsy, John O'Neill, Robert Carr, Hunter Hudson, Rob Stokes, Nick Spano, Sasha Sir, Jay Stratton, Harry Post, Grumpy Mike, Harvey Pedals. I saw a Harvey pedal the other day and it was really nice looking.
Yeah.
Alison Carroll, Bum
Laser.
Anthony Stevens, Chris Brown, Philip Carter of the 40 Watt Podcast, Christopher Logan, Jason Englehart, Dick Crowhawk, Dylan Lewis, Josh, not that one, or that one, or that one, James Thompson, Colin Littlejohn, Machete of Odin, Derek Lyons, Darth Bagel, The Wizard of Woz, Crappy Tom, Blake is a secret lover. She get a hold of you, don't need it. What?
What?
DJ, I think
Come here, give me a hug.
right. DJ Farns, Kyle Viana, he's doing stuff again, listeners. Dan Ridgway, Robert Hahn, John Hill, Nick Call, Kyle Ray, your face. Thank you so much. You're wonderful people, all of you, even Blake.
No, not me.
Oh.
Bye.